Entrepreneurism is something people didn't define properly. In this country, they say ondernemer, which sort of translates to a person owning a business. But you can be ondernemend, which is entrepreneurial, and that could be anyone, anytime, anywhere. So I think creativity is something we all have access to. The question is, what type of level do you want to play that on? Are you curious to discover everything, all the weirder connections in your mind? It's easier to make a horse out of a unicorn than the other way around. You can make anything exciting in the entire world if you're creative.
How does creativity is going to redefine growth, in your opinion, looking ahead?
I think, especially now, sound bites like these always work. No matter the year, there's challenging times right now, right? If you look financially, the inflation that's going on, the possible crisis that is pending, whatever crypto is doing, like all this stuff. A lot of businesses I know are not performing the way they did a year ago or 2 years ago. And right now we're going into a little bit of a negative spiral. It's going to get back up again because that's the world. But there has never been a better time to be creative. If something that was a given and always worked now does not work, you need to create something new. You need to add or subtract something that will make it number one again. And so I think there's never been a better time to add creativeness to business for growth.
Welcome to this Redefine Growth podcast. Today it's all about creativity in businesses. We're talking with Mr. Avocado, Ron Simpson. You're probably familiar with him. If you're not, stay tuned. This is going to be so much fun in this episode. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, man.
It's the Redefine Growth podcast. It's all about redefining growth.
You wouldn't say.
No, you wouldn't say. We try to inspire entrepreneurs to think of other things than just maximizing profit. So make a positive impact on people and planet. But also other ways to grow businesses. And I think you're an amazing fit with this podcast because you're super creative. You're known from probably the Avocado Show, but there's more.
There's definitely more
about, today. So maybe you want to add something to the introduction.
I always feel like a project has been successful when I become the guy. So it's like the avocado guy or the nightlife guy or the Bacardi guy or whatever. So I've done a lot of different things. Right now I'm the skybox guy or the inspiration guy, which is also fine. But usually there's like the red line is I try to figure out what makes me happy and what excites me as an idea and then see if the world has it or not. And if it does, then I'll either leave it alone or try to improve it. And if it doesn't, then we launch it.
Cool.
So every 2-3 years, there's something new.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So and where did it start? If we go back a little bit, even before the Avocado Show, when did you find out you had that creative brain?
Really early, actually. We moved countries when I was young, and that was kind of funny. So when we came to the Netherlands, I have an English father, so I already spoke English as a kid, not very well, but at least better than Dutch because I didn't speak a single word Dutch, right? But I also have a brother and a sister and parents and everyone who had the same problem moving to the Netherlands. Like no one spoke Dutch. So it wasn't just one problem to solve. It was like 5 and they were busy doing all types of stuff. So one of the greatest life hacks was my parents would just put on English TV, right? And whether that was American or it was British, it doesn't really matter. So I was watching BBC and I was watching MTV and I was watching all of these things because I could understand that. Now, that sounds like a very simple thing, but what actually happens is that you start watching completely different content than everyone at your school, all your friends, right? They're watching the Dutch stuff and knowing everything about that. And I was like, why isn't anybody talking about all this cool shit I've seen? And that took years. Like literally the difference between watching, I don't know, Telekids and Cartoon Network is like totally different. And so I think I was just exposed to bigger things when I was younger. Because if you watch American TV and British TV, they don't just talk about Holland, you know, they show more stuff, bigger cities, bigger ideas, bigger stars, bigger whatever. And so when I was really young, I already started picking that up and my interest was there. It was like bigger. It was always bigger than where I was at the moment, right? So No matter where I lived, I was always watching this bigger world, cooler world somewhere. And I guess imagination takes over. I guess by then you're like, oh yeah, I wish I could go there. I wish I could see it. I wish I could try that food. I wish I could wear those clothes. I wish I could all the basics. And because I was just watching different stuff, it just really pushed my creativity. And I started noticing that very young at school. And then when I was doing projects, even simple stuff like, when you have to do a speech or a talk about something, or you have to write an essay or whatever, I was always imagining like way bigger things than the rest was. So that's when it started. And then I had my first job like anyone else. Started working in supermarkets and doing this kind of stuff. And that took me about 2 hours to realize that was not, not who I was supposed to be. And it's nothing against it, because I think, it's great that we give young people the opportunity to work and start learning and whatever. But the first thing that popped up in my mind was like, I would love to work using talent, not time. I was like, I'm just using time. I'm giving you my time, and I'm taking something and putting it on a shelf, or doing something that anyone could do.
Yeah.
I want to do something that I can do. That was the biggest difference. And so I started to figure out, what can I do? What can I do? What are my skills? What's my genius? And now it's easy to name those things. But back then it was just a feeling like, I don't want to do this. I want to do something that makes me happy. It's as basic as that, right? And so I found out, like, my next door neighbor, he had a cinema, and I could work there doing
a real cinema.
A real cinema, yeah. Nice. He owned a cinema, and he had a son, which was a friend of mine, and we started working there. And I was like, not doing anything better. I mean, it was just baking popcorn in the middle of the night, literally. But being in that environment, in a way smaller team than something like a supermarket is, and his interest in teaching his son and myself, because I was there, different things. Now all of a sudden I had a job that I really liked. And they taught us about movies and the storytellings and why do certain things work and why don't they. And that 6 weeks before the movie came out, they would get all like the cardboard and the posters and all the promotions and stuff. And so the basics of marketing and the basics of storytelling and all this kind of stuff was taught to me at a very young age by someone who was just in love with his work. He loved having a cinema. He loved movies. And, that kind of stuff really catches on. I never spoke to someone at the supermarket who really loved his job and, made me positively jealous about it, like very happy to be there. None at all. Everyone was just like, fuck this shit. Once I'm 15, I'm going to do this. Yeah. So that was interesting to me. And I think, I started figuring out there. And he also asked a lot of questions. He asked my opinion about a lot of things. How would you do this? What do you think about that? Simple stuff. Where would you put the poster? How would you tell this story? Very simple things. And so you start to create this thing like, hey, my opinion matters and I can actually think about these things. And so doing that later on, I'm very annoying with like word jokes. That's just my thing. I have a lightning fast brain that just processes these annoying little word jokes. And someone said, Jesus, if you could just get paid doing that, that would be your perfect job as a kid. I was like, is it possible to get paid for that?
Let's try.
And then, there are basically two options. One is comedy. And I was not interested in that as much. I was more of a fan than a creator.
I see you potentially become a comedian. I saw you on stage.
Yeah, I would love to.
50% keynote, 50% comedian.
Yeah. Well, that's where I get all my inspiration from. Like, if anyone ever asks me, like, how do you present the way you do or talk the way you do, it's 100% I watch comedians. Yeah. The rest is irrelevant. But from there on out, I was like, oh, so it's either being a comedian or it's becoming a copywriter, because basically you're playing with language, right? And so I did that, and I started a really tiny, weird company called Hulk Slogan. And I would just show up on a bike and write whatever you needed there and then. You would pay me and I would bike off. That was it. And by then I already knew, like, everyone else was just playing football, drinking beers, being in school. And I was like, how can we do cool shit? How can we use the talents we have, or because using talent was fun to me, more fun than all the regular stuff.
Mm.
It was like I really felt in my element when I was appreciated, when I was creating, when I was challenged, all of these things. And I couldn't find those in, regular 16, 17, 18-year-old life. I really had to dig deeper. So that's where it started.
I'm going to use that as a reason for putting on the TV with my son, by the way. Just working on his creativity and
literally. But I don't think my parents or myself or anyone else at that time were thinking about that at all. But the impact it has. Imagine watching content that only has Dutch imagery in it, including the cities and the people and the problems, right?
Yeah.
Or from a young age, you're watching New York, LA, London, Paris, really big and inspiring things. I was mesmerized.
Yeah.
And so without actually noticing it, my parents did that at a young age. So you're talking years of inspiration at a higher level than the regular one.
Yeah, you're talking about creativity and your lightning fast brain, and creativity is, I see it kind of similar as something like entrepreneurship. Is it often there's a discussion around it? Is it something that you can teach or that you're born with? Is it are you born as an entrepreneur, or is it something that you can teach people? Are you born creative? What's your vision on it?
I think those are both really good questions. Let's tackle the entrepreneur one. I think entrepreneurism is something people didn't define properly, especially not in this country, right? In this country, they say ondernemer, which sort of translates to a person owning a business. But you can be ondernemend, which is entrepreneurial, right?
Yes.
And that could be anyone, anytime, anywhere. So just like creativity, I think entrepreneurism is in every single person. You just need to want something. If you want something and you can't have it, or you don't know the way there and you figure it out, that to me is an entrepreneur. I don't care if you build business around it. It's the mindset of, hey, I want to do this, go there, try that, create this, whatever, and then making it happen. You could do that as a person who works at a company. You can do that as a person who owns a company. You can do that as a parent. It doesn't really matter. There's so many different ways of being entrepreneurial. So I think everyone has that. It's the question of, do you run into the problems you want to solve, into the ideas you want to realize? And then you'll get that. So yes, of course, there's a rule book and you need to learn about all types of stuff. You need to handle money and manage people and, communicate and all these things. Yeah, you can learn those. But I think in the most basic shape and form, everyone is entrepreneurial. They just choose not to, or didn't find the right challenge. And the ones that fall in love with a challenge are the ones that become big and really go and do it. And when it comes to creativity, creativity is literally what it says, to create things. And I've had a lot of people, they're like, yeah, but I'm not creative. I'm like, you can form a sentence, right? You can speak. Yeah. Cool. Guess you just created a sentence. That's the easiest way for me to explain it. Like, absolutely anyone can create, but the levels are just different. So if you feel like you want to create, you'll be creative, and you'll be labeled as a creative, and you'll try different things and won't be afraid to fail, etc. But literally, combining two things and creating a new one is already creativity. So the first person that took, I don't know, a peanut butter sandwich and a jelly sandwich and then put it together and said, now it's peanut butter jelly. That's not brilliant, right?
But it works.
It works. But like on a creativity level, it's not brilliant. You just took two things, and you put them together. Yeah. Anyone can do that. So I think creativity is something we all have access to. The question is, what type of level do you want to play that on? Are you excited by it? Are you challenged by it? Did you develop it? Are you curious to discover everything, all the weirder connections in your mind? Because the basic creative connections we can all make, we can all see. It's the weird ones that are innovative, that are, new, that'll excite people. But everyone's creative every single day. You create language.
And is it something you can train? Is that also what you're saying?
Of course. I have different ways of doing that. I like, there's this thing I do where we are creative on command, which I love, right? Because it's the easiest way to teach someone who thinks he's not. So let's just say you and I are standing on the top of a building right now.
Mm-hmm.
And the building is 100 stories high.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to ask you a question. I'll say, okay, we need to get down from this building safely. Could you name 5 ways of doing that?
Parachute.
That's
Stairs.
the first one. Okay, stairs, parachute. Yeah.
No, parachute was first.
Okay.
Stairs. A rope.
A
maybe
rope.
like we can go with an elevator. Maybe
Elevator,
if there's one.
Well, 100 stories. Yeah, I think so.
I
Yeah.
hope. And then the last one would be way with the helicopter.
Okay. So let's take these 5. Yeah. Now they're not allowed. No stairs, no elevator, no helicopter, no rope, no parachute.
Safely, right? We need to go down safely.
Safely, yes. But there are no other rules than that. Give me 5 new ones.
There are no other rules than that. Safety. Maybe on your hands and knees, like going down.
Okay. On your hands and knees, fine. Yeah.
Rolling.
Okay.
We can maybe with is that called a jumpsuit or something? You can go off a mountain. Is that called?
Oh yeah, the glider suits.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the glider
Base jump.
suit. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
base jump. So maybe we this jetpack.
Jetpack. Okay, cool. I'll take it. Now, this is creative on command, right? And the experience you have and the imagination you have determines how crazy this goes. So I've asked this question to a whole bunch of different people, and they start connecting things. How do you get off an airplane when it crashes? A slide, right? So a slide is something that they've seen before. So they'll say, we can slide off the building. We can indeed base jump off of it, or we can take a rope to another building and then go across because they've seen that in movies or whatever. So they start to combine.
Yeah.
If you ask someone who has, a few more points on the creativity scale, they'll say, there are no other rules. Yeah. Okay. I'll just lower the building.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
There are no rules, right? The point is the first 5 are obvious for you. And so if you take that away, now you're already forced to dig deeper. And some people dig deeper and some people dig higher. That's the difference. So either you go deeper into the reference you already know, or you start to figure out really weird ways of doing it. You could bend the whole building over, step off, and have the building bend back. If you watch The Matrix. So there's all these...
Spider-Man too.
Yeah, you can Spider-Man off there. You can do whatever you want. Because that's the fun part about creativity. Before you give it any rules, it's free.
And how does creativity comes out in the best shape? Because now you asked me some questions and I'm thinking of myself. If you're with more people, what will be your advice on in the shape how to become creative together? Is it more like an individual exercise, or are you building upon?
No, you can do it in a group. I think you just changed the question, and you need to understand the rules of creativity, which means there are none. Nothing is wrong. Nothing is weird in the beginning, right? We're not talking about realistically executing a plan. We're talking about creatively finding a solution, possible solution. And so if escape rooms are the perfect example, really. What if there was no actual playbook? You would start to work as a group and you would say, well, maybe we can, crack the door, or how do we go through this wall, or maybe we can MacGyver a key or whatever, right? So you do that as a group, which I think is interesting. And we just used the example of a building, but let's say it's 5 of you, you're standing there, there's a wall in front of you, just one wall. Not a room, a single wall in the middle of a field. Now you say, okay, you need to get to the other side. What are the first 5 things? Well, left around it, right around it, over it, under it. Okay, fine. All of those 5 are out. Now you need to start talking to each other. Like, how do we, maybe I can throw a person over there, or maybe we can climb on top of each other. Maybe we can
Bring a
run
bazooka.
through the wall. Maybe we can take all the bricks out. Maybe we, you know what I mean? And then it's the same exercise. It's just like, what is a possible solution? And if you're alone, you will automatically start thinking of things you have to do alone. But if it's 5 of you, now all of a sudden you can climb. You have different height rules. It's not 1 person, it's 5. You have different strength. It's not 1 person, it's 5. That's all. It's no different. So I would just try to solve really funny, weird, random shit before you do anything else to get in the mood.
Oh, yeah.
To understand, like, okay, even weird suggestions like, what if we build a human trampoline and jump over it? That doesn't make any sense, but it's a thought, right? Now you're already thinking like, okay, there's a way to jump over this wall. Maybe a human trampoline is not the best way, but you unlocked something in your mind.
Yeah,
that to me is fun. I love that.
Yeah, it's amazing exercise, I think, for people to do. And if I'm thinking about it right now, I don't really see a lot of people within businesses doing these kind of exercise before they get creative around a certain topic. Do you?
No, I think we in business usually make the mistake of putting the rules on the table first, right? And I like to apply those rules second. First, I like to create and think, and it's easier to make a horse out of a unicorn than the other way around. If you already figured out the horse, you know what I mean? So if you make an idea and it's 100% creative craziness, it's easier to scale it down towards 80%, 70%, and that would work in reality than to think of things with rules and then create the horse already. And all of a sudden someone says, oh yeah, you need to really upgrade this thing to 100%. It's really tough to make something ordinary special. It's easier to make something special ordinary.
I think Disney has the Disney circle in creativity. You have to help me out a little bit. I think the first step is to be really, really creative.
Yeah.
And then you stand in a different... I also think why a lot of people argue in the car, for example, because you don't have to look at each other. So it's easier to become more critical. So I think that's the second or the last phase. But the first phase, there are no rules, and you really have to become...
There should be no rules.
Yeah, right? I think that's...
You should have the purest of ideas, and then you water them down to where you want it. That's the whole point. It's really tough to find the right mix once let's say you make a mixed drink. It's really tough to find it after you added the soda. Like, how much do I need to... Oh, you want to know how much of the pure stuff is in there, and then dilute it to where you want it to be.
So you believe in creativity, and so can you explain a little bit about the value of creativity in running a business?
Yeah, to me, creativity is exciting. It's attraction. It's it creates USPs, not just SPs. The U is the creative part, right? The unique selling point. To be unique, you have to create something that the other people don't have, that only your product has, or only your service has, or only you as a person have. So, to me, sometimes it feels like we're pushing things into corners too much. That's creative, and then that's operational, and then that's whatever. But to me, you can make anything exciting in the entire world, anything, if you're creative. And we call that the FOMO formula, which is something we developed at Skybox. Is fun, actually at 24K, which is, we found out a few things. If you are 100% creative, so like really wild, crazy, new, innovative ideas, right? Yeah. Usually you won't find the audience for it. That only works with your peers or people who really are into that. So 100% is usually scary. If you see that, you've seen it before. It could be an idea that's launched too early, or something that's been, that's too creative. Now, if you ask a regular person who is, let's say, better in finance or these type of things, a lot of times people think creative and has zero experience with creative people. They think we sit in like glittery disco rooms creating, rainbow waves. But it's none of that. It's really How can you make anything more exciting? And so we found out that 100%, I've presented ideas on 100% and they always failed. They always got applauded in the room where I made them. And then they always failed at the point of sale because there was too big of a gap between what I see and what that person sees.
You were maybe too early. That's also where you said. So the timing might not. Might be a good idea in 5 years.
because, and this is the most important part, it could be too early because I would be at 100% and the other person would be at 0, which puts a gap of 100% between us. Now, why is that too early? Because if the other person has seen or heard something like this 2 or 3 times before, he wouldn't be at 0%. He'd be at like 30. So now the gap is 70, right? That's what happens when you're too early. If you're too far away into the future, they don't get you. So we tried diluting it to 66%. 1 out of 3 variables would go out. Higher success rate, still not exactly what we wanted it to be. We took it down to 33%. Boom. Literally 100% home runs. Why is that? So we try to figure that out. And we made it a formula. So we said like, okay.
Wow. Don't you like that? Please like and subscribe because there's more exciting stuff to come. Do you know any people that we should invite? Please leave their name in the comments and we'll make sure that we have them on the pod.
Let's take 2 things that are super normal, regular, right? Let's see if I can excite you. So I can call you and say, hey, would you like to eat with me? Now, eating is something you do 21 times a week, usually. So it's very common, right? There's sort of, you have to, but you could also want to. But it's weird. So out of those 21 meals, how many do you discuss with other people? Only the special ones.
Yep.
Right? Because otherwise it's just fuel. It's fine. So if I ask you to eat with me, you can choose yes or no, but there's no real urgency to do so. If we're not besties or married. So if I then add, like, what is your favorite dish?
I like Asian food.
You like Asian food?
Yeah.
Is that like more sushi or more like Japanese, Chinese?
Japanese, Korean as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a Korean barbecue you like?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So if I
like it as well, because else we have a...
No, I love it. Yeah. So if I would call you and I would say, hey, you want to go eat with me? The answer to that is, you'd be sure, but, right? I don't have time. I'm busy.
Yeah.
Now I can take a lot of those reasons away by adding another thing you like. You want to go eat Korean barbecue with me? Now, because you like that, it already trumps a whole bunch of stuff you wanted to use as an excuse. That means there's urgency. You as a person feel urgency to eat it because you like it, right? So now it's not just the 1 in 21. Now it's how often do you eat Korean barbecue?
Not that often, actually. Once every 2 months, I guess.
Once every 2 months, so 6 times a year, right?
Guess so.
Okay. Now let's say 21 times 52.
Yeah. I eat 14 times a week, but
you eat 14 times a week?
Yeah, I eat 2 dishes a day. Maybe it's easier calculation. It's 4 times 50 and 200. It's 700 meals.
Fine.
Somewhere around that.
Somewhere around there. Now, only 6 of them are Korean barbecue. So I took something you did very often, and now I made it specific. Way more interesting. 1 in 6 or 1 in 700, right? And so, but even then you did that 6 times a year. So there's still reason to skip it, because if you can't right now, you'll do it in 2 months. If I add the third factor, now it gets exciting. That's where creativity starts, right? So the first 2 things a lot of people figured out. It's the third one. That's the 33%. So now we're talking, I can add anything. If I have all the money in the world, I can choose expensive things. If I don't have any money at all, I can choose free things that are still amazing. So, hey, would you like to go to dinner with me? Meh. Hey, would you like to go and eat Korean barbecue with me? Hey, would you like to go eat Korean barbecue with me on a helicopter?
With Elon Musk.
Sorry?
With Elon Musk. There as
Sure,
well.
yeah, with Elon Musk on a helicopter, whatever, right? That's the 100% craziness. If there's cash, if there's connections, not everyone can do that. But I can also say, would you like to eat Korean barbecue with me during sunset? Or on the top of a hill, or on the longest day of summer, or whatever, like
add a unique factor to it.
Add a unique factor to it that just makes it smaller. So we went from 1 in 700 to 1 in 6, and I want to go to 1 of 1, because then you feel urgency. Like, shit, if I don't do that today, I'm not doing that ever.
Yeah,
and it's the same product, but that's how you communicate creativity. You just add the unique of the selling points. The other selling points are not unique, they're common. So to me, in business, that's how you do it. You try to make things exciting that way. The other way is the base, right? The right time, the right place, the right product, the right quality, the right price, the right whatever. Those all exist. But if you add the sauce of creativity, now it becomes attractive. Not just necessary, attractive. I love that.
That's an amazing example.
Thanks.
How would people be capable of thinking that way? You do consulting.
Yeah.
This is already like a really cool exercise for people to do themselves with the wall, or like the building example that you mentioned. And what is the moment that an entrepreneur needs to think of, oh, wait, now I have to become more creative in solving this challenge, or for my positioning, or if I can see other areas where...
Well, first of all, you don't have to. If business is going fine, then just leave it alone, right? But if you're having trouble or challenges positioning yourself, or growing, or attracting new audience, or doing all types of stuff, then you can start asking, what can I add or deduct that makes it special? Because creativity is not just about adding things. You can take things out, right? If we go to a restaurant and I take out all the lights, that's an experience. I don't add shit. I don't add dark. I remove light.
Yeah.
Right? If we go somewhere and there's no cutlery, you have to eat everything with your hands. I don't add, I take out. Rick Rubin is one of my favorite examples in the world. He's a big time music producer. He produced, anything from Kanye West to the Beastie Boys and everything in between. And he was known for a sentence that stuck in my mind forever. Usually when you co-produce or executively produce an album, it would say produced by Rick Rubin. And whenever people brought him music, he would look for everything he could take out, simplify it, and make it therefore clearer what it's supposed to be. And he had the line, reduced by Rick Rubin. That's creativity to me. So it's not just, you're allowed to add, you're allowed to deduct, you're allowed to change, you're allowed to double. That's the whole point of creativity. But I think, how can people do that? The easiest way for me is I use the FOMO formula is literally writing 3 things down. So the first one is, in general, what is it? The second thing is, specifically, what is it, right? So eating is general. Korean barbecue would then be more specific. And then I would have this third thing that I could fill in a million different ways. So I would do it in a million different ways. I would just write, eat X, Korean barbecue X ? Now, have fun. And the first 5 don't count, right? So you just you go in and you write 100 of these and just pitch them at someone until their eyes just flare up. Like, holy shit, I would really love to do that. Okay, let's eat Korean barbecue with dolphins on a boat. Dope. Doesn't matter. And I know that is, far away and kind of a sophisticated way of doing things, but find the one that really challenges boringness, right? It makes it exciting and is very easy to do because it's personal. Some people just love sunsets. That's all you have to do.
And what I like about the reducing and deducting part is probably with that, it becomes more clear as well, because you're taking away parts that are not relevant to listen to. So it becomes more clear the things that you actually want to listen to. And in terms of business, it's I remember one of our first clients, they had like 10 advantages of the product. Like there were 10 bullets why you should buy the product. I was like, really? Like, first of all, Red Bull doesn't say how much sugar there's in their cans, right? So it's not about what is in the product. It's
unless
more about
it's zero.
Unless no, that's a good point. Unless it's zero. But 10 bullets, like how many do you want people to remember? So the deduction part, I like.
It's very simple. I think in communication, the basic thing that works for me always is flirting. Always. I love flirting as a concept, right? Because flirting is communication with a goal. You're trying to make the other party more interested, impressed, in love, all these things that you would love for your brand or product to have, right? And so
you don't want it to be too eager. You don't want to
exactly. All of those
you're
rules
not
apply.
Selling like, hey, you want to go home with me?
Yeah, all those rules apply, right? So if you meet a person and they ask you one question like, hey, what do you do? And you start giving them your whole resume and life story, they run, right? You don't want any of that. Like when you flirt, you're kind of cool. You're the best version of yourself. You're like, hey, what do I do? Whatever I want. You know what I mean? Like, or I have the weirdest company in the world. Or I sell designer avocados. Whatever you want to say, it doesn't really matter. You could come up with that. And you do that because you understand the goal. You as a person want to flirt. You want to be in that energy, right? And so I always take that energy and try to apply it to business communication, like towards a customer or selling a product or a brand or whatever it's like. I don't want to tell you my whole story. I want you to know my whole story. I want you to ask questions. I want you to spend time Googling me. I want you to, because the whole point of like a pickup line or an opening line or whatever is not to close the deal on the first second. No, it's to raise interest. Yeah. It's to create this energy of attraction, right? And that's what you're supposed to be doing. And you'll have a few like conversations, A to B, B to A, up and down, whatever. And then in that time, they can ask you the questions you want to answer. Just telling everything about yourself is not the point. No. You want them to ask, oh, where did you grow up? What did you study? What kind of music do you love? You don't want to tell all of that. You don't want to go, hi, I'm Bart, and I love this kind of music, and I grew up there, and I studied that, and I have a sister, and
they're done.
Go away, right? So I apply those rules.
Yeah, and I think it's super clear in the area of communicating, positioning you as a company, and being creative there, and it makes you unique, like you're saying. I can also maybe think of some other areas where you can apply this concept. Do you have experience in other areas? For example, company culture, becoming more creative, and we do confetti when there's only the first day that you start working at Princess Sneakers. There was only the first day, right? So there's only that one experience, that one time you can make that first day a really cool experience. Are there some other areas where we can share something about where you applied that concept?
Billion areas. I think anything, first you analyze and then you change, right? So first you analyze what do we actually have to change? And not have to change, but what do we have that we can change? So what do you do at work, right? You have an environment you work in, you eat, you celebrate milestones, you have a work week which has its rules. Mondays and Fridays are different, right?
Meetings.
You have meetings, you have emails, you have all this kind of stuff. But you also have a lot of other celebratory things. Hopefully, you'll have some type of diversity, right? And that could, even when you're with two people, there's diversity, right? It could be a man and a woman, or it could be age difference, or it could be culturally different, or it could be, personality type different. It doesn't matter. I like different stuff than you like. But I also like explaining what I like to you or showing that. And I also like learning what you like and you teaching me that, right?
Mm.
That's the basic rules of everything. So why do you pop confetti on someone's first day? To make them feel good, to make them feel welcome, right? It's a very expressive, obvious signal.
Mhm.
Welcome.
Yeah.
We love you, right? That's what
Yeah.
you're saying. And so you can do that in many different ways. My favorite thing is like, there's always this, you can celebrate love on Valentine's Day or the other 364 days a year, right? So to me, confetti on your first day is obvious. I would do it on the second.
Go on.
I would have them wonder if you're going to do something on your first day, then disappointment them, and then boom, do it twice.
And all the promise over deliver.
All the emotions. You know what I mean?
It's funny because you often celebrate like 1 year at the company or 2 years, but you could celebrate the 1,000 day at the company or like at the other moment.
You could celebrate the 42nd day at a company because that's the answer to the universe according to the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. You don't need a reason why it's 42 or 13 or 705. You know what I mean? And that's the randomness is the fun part because random means they don't see it coming. So you could do that with meals. Like my favorite thing was to surprise people with food. And usually because of culture, they would do it on Friday afternoon, right? Friday afternoon is the worst business moment in the world, right? Everyone just relaxes and it's sort of almost over.
Mm-hmm.
But when is the toughest moment?
Monday morning.
Monday morning. So
surprise them with food.
Surprise. Surprise, forget about Friday. We're going to have a good start of the week this week.
Yeah.
Or, we would pick really random. If you really look for it, every single day on earth is dedicated to something. The day of the potato, the day of the whatever, right?
Yeah.
Find the random ones and celebrate those. If I show up to work and you're wearing a potato suit, first of all, I'm what the fuck is going on? But I'm laughing already. I'm smiling, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, we decided to celebrate weird shit. Okay. So everyone gets a potato and a marker. Write your favorite lyric on it and, let's make French fries. Okay. Whatever, right? And that's so weird, yet fun, yet not costly at all, that I would tell everyone about it. I love doing things that are so unique, funny, hitting home, unexpected, that people tell everyone about it. And that's one side of the beauty. The other side of things when it comes to cultural stuff, I would definitely talk to your people. What is missing? What sucks? What should we do? What would be your favorite celebration? Next week is your celebration day. We can do whatever we want. Tell me. What would you like? I want to play hip hop at the office all day. Dope. Let's do it.
That's also part of the onboarding, that they can play their own music.
There you go. And and there's nuance in this, right? Because I actually I was talking to Mark Derby and Nedir Mea from Personal FIA, which is like this diversity temp agency. Like, they provide staffing about all these horrible examples, like Tupac Fridays and that kind of stuff. So if someone wants to play hip hop for a day, then let them. But usually you can also overstep. And then all of a sudden everyone's coming to the office with fake gold chains and bandanas on their head. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to go that far. Yeah. It could be as simple as just being allowed to play your own music. Or if you're very proud of your food heritage from home, or your mom or your grandma had a recipe which was amazing, or your grandpa for that matter, and you say, hey, I really want us all to eat this one time for lunch. Cool. Do that. You don't have to transform the whole building into a Uruguayan flag just because you're going to eat a sandwich. Yeah. It could be just the simple story because that one's personal. Have the person make them. Have the person explain what that meal does to them and why he wants to share it with us. That's way more valuable. So just talk to people and figure out what they like and what they would like to express and communicate.
Yeah, and actually with that, you're inviting them to join these certain surprises or activities, because I think it's contagious as well. If you do certain things like that, like I had a guest on the pod. He on our last festival, he was wearing a dinosaur suit at the after party, like this crazy big dinosaur suit, and he was also like, I want to have fun there. I want other people to have fun. So I just think of ways how I can realize that and design my own party there,
exactly,
and influence other people and invite them to have fun as well. And it's
that is not necessarily work related. That's person related. Right?
Yeah,
and I love that. And I think there's a whole bunch of these things. Some people just love to host, or not everyone is in the role that they should have or that they actually want. Right?
Yep.
You could be very good at something and have a social wish or desire to do something else. That's totally normal. And one of my favorite things is we call this hidden talents. I love hidden talents. To me, there's a reason why the entire world is watching X Factor or whatever, right? Because we see plumbers sing opera. That's fucking amazing. And so I know for a fact that every single person you work with has a hidden talent. There's something they can do. And it could be as small as a party trick, or maybe they can bend their fingers, in a weird way. It doesn't really matter. Or they're actually really good at something, but you never asked. Maybe one is a wizard on a piano. The other one is when COVID hit the avocado show, we found out that one person in our kitchen was a certified electrician that used to do amazing houses. Like he would come in and fix amazing houses. So we're like, whoa, what?
What the?
I see you cutting food, but I never knew.
Yeah.
And then during COVID, we actually upgraded the restaurant with him. People have amazing talents and also amazing knowledge and stories, but we just never ask because they're colleagues, not friends.
I sometimes add a bonus question to an introduction. So when I have a meeting or like a workshop, people so often they do like, I'm this age, live there, and this is my function title. So to try to, that's okay, but to try to make it a little bit more personal, I sometimes add a bonus question. We can come up with a bonus question ourselves. But one of the questions that works pretty well is, okay, where do you think you're better at than all the other people in the room? And then you sometimes hear like sign language or like some samurai sword fighting, whatever. Like you get the craziest stuff, and you see the colleagues looking at each other like, really? Like I didn't knew that.
Yeah, but that got interesting really quick.
Yeah.
And
it's so much fun to give that another dimension to
we even go one step further usually. I would forbid them for saying all the other stuff.
Oh, yeah.
You're not allowed to say what your age is or where you're from or where you work or any of that. You figure that one out yourself.
Yeah.
You're only, you can gamify any situation.
One I did with the leadership day we had recently was you let other ones introduce yourself. So there was a guy who was one of the leaders of a motorcycle gang, and it was all tattooed, but he didn't say anything. We had to introduce him. So he was standing there, but it was such a nice guy. It's such a the feeling you have with a certain person, so warm, and we were like, okay, does he have kids? Where do I live? And we had to introduce him. And then later that day, he explained about his use. He spent like 11 years in prison, and but you would never at that point. Well, there was one tattoo that could potentially give the idea around it, but that's also super nice to because you're so biased by
of course,
looking at people, and
you're biased anyway. And I think the weird part is we do this kind of stuff with our families and friends at certain moments in time. So, we always roast people during Christmas. That's just what we do.
With friends.
Also,
I do it with friends as well.
Exactly.
With colleagues, maybe.
But I mean, that's what makes friendship. Yeah. It's not the conversation about how old are you and where do you work, right? Yeah. So if you want to go van deeper, as they say, van layer deeper, you do it that way. You try to. It's the unknown, weird, quirky, unique stuff that matters, not anything I can read off your LinkedIn page.
Yeah.
Not interested.
And also things that not might have a goal. Like often in a meeting, well, you have the agenda. So what do you want to get out of the meeting? And there's always a goal that you want to achieve together, or like a business result or whatever. Sometimes just doing things together by doing it,
Yeah.
connecting and not having that specific outcome that you want is also, I think, where bonding happens within.
And it can be quick. It's just, being routines. Two very easy examples. One was we always had coolest word of the week. What did you run into? Like, and people would try to beat each other all the time, which I like. But you also learn something from it. And the other one was worst email greetings of the week. And then, every time you got an email from client or cold call, inbound, whatever, and it was terrible, we would just screenshot that thing, and people would really wait until it was Friday. Like, oh my God, someone sent me, culinary unicorn greetings. Oh God. Okay.
Yeah.
Boom. So it can be very simple. It's just about building cultures is like you build friendships.
Yeah. And I love how the creativity part makes it also more fun. All the examples that you say is that it makes it way more fun, and you have something to do with each other, some exercises. So
and nice. Creativity or design of any kind doesn't have to be expensive. An IKEA couch takes probably more creativity and design than a very expensive couch from a big label.
Because it needs to be simple.
Not just simple. They have a million rules. It needs to be sustainable. It needs to be affordable. It needs to fit in a box. It needs to be there for the next 10 years. Put it
together yourself. Yeah.
You need to be able to put it together. If you do designer sofas, you can make one of solid gold, say it's 18 million, and you can only pick it up by helicopter. Good luck with that.
Yeah.
That's not how IKEA works, but it still needs to be cool, and it still needs to look good in your house, and it still needs to. So affordable design, affordable creativity, or even free creativity is my favorite thing.
Hey, do you like the pod? Do you like creativity in business? Check out Ron Simpson on LinkedIn. Like and subscribe. We'll be there next time. So looking ahead a little bit, right? So the AI boom is happening now. So everybody's producing like I would say kind of similar content with AI, and it becomes easier to get higher quality content. But where do you see like creativity plays maybe a more important role in the future, or how is that changes over time? Because we saw like the more creative agencies and it became more a little bit of performance, but now with AI, what is the trend that you see and how to deal with it?
I see two things that blow my mind, really blow my mind. The first one is, if we're talking about creativity, we're talking about talents that have not been touched yet. That to me is the most exciting version. What do I mean? I mean that I, as a person, I am creative, and I found ways to express that, but I'm also creative in ways I haven't been able to express. I can think of a painting, an original one, my own thoughts. However, I cannot paint. I can think of music. However, I cannot play an instrument.
I've been there. Yeah.
I would love to, but I can't. And I didn't have the time to develop that, or I didn't choose to do that, or it doesn't matter. But now, with these new apps, I can simply use my voice to play an instrument. I can do a little melody or a little riff and use my voice, and it will turn that into a guitar or a piano. I can prompt a painting, right? Now that's just me. So imagine every single person on earth that has the ability, the natural ability to think of music or art or any other creative expression, but never learned how to produce it, will now be able to. I think we're going to get a 30 to 50% increase in creative product, because now anyone can shape their ideas. And to me, that is super exciting. That is super exciting. And it'll dilute because it won't all be good, obviously, but it'll be fun. It'll make people able to express themselves in ways that they've never done before. It'll create new hobbies. It'll create new weird pivots of people who turned out to be amazing artists, but they were stuck in an office job because they never, So that to me is exciting. I think AI unlocks creative possibilities in people that we've never seen before. That's a beauty. The second thing, which is terrifying and exciting at the same time, is something I like to call responsive internet. And responsive internet is going to be nuts. So AI at this point to me is just making a whole bunch of ingredients. They're all little tools, little things that change something. And then once we learn those ingredients, we're going to start making dishes. You're going to take 4 or 5 tools, put them together. Now it's an actual tool or an actual app that can do everything from start to finish. And then after we make dishes, it's going to be cuisines. We're going to have styles, which I love. Now, I've watched a whole bunch of these little tool ingredient things, and I was like, oh my God, if these ever come together at the right time, we unlock this idea that I have, which I think is amazing. So it started out, a friend of mine, he has a company in AI models, like literally fashion models, right?
Yeah.
And they generate them from data. So you take a couple of million variables, you toss it together. Now you can do any hairstyle, any skin color, any age, any type, any tattoo, any whatever. And so they can generate whatever they want. That used to take time. Now it's real time, which means they can generate whatever they want you to see as quickly as you can upload the page. So, first rule. Now, if in your cookies or in your profile, you say, I am a white male, this is my length, this is my weight, this is my style. And you would go to a huge web shop, let's say you go to H&M. They can now generate you in real time in every picture.
Wow.
So you can actually see how that clothing item would fit you properly. Not just campaign level cool models. No, you. What does it look like on you? So the amount of orders that you order wrong because it looked cool on the other guy, get reduced, and that's a good thing. But that's just one thing. So we can adapt in real time the person you are looking to. Now multiply that, right? 10x that. That means that if it doesn't matter if you go to H&M.com or you go to book a hotel or buy insurance or whatever, we can now make you feel comfortable. That's interesting because that really impacts business, sales, all these things simply because it looks like you. And you have a better understanding of whether it would suit you. Is it for you? Is it not for you? Is it for something? All of these unwritten rules will now get done. Second thing is language is done in real time as well. So
adjusts to my preference.
Yeah. But it's not just copy. They do audio and video as well. I don't know if you've seen that yet, but they can adapt like they do Netflix or movies. The whole voiceover industry, like in Germany, is dead because now you can use the original actor and voice and flip it into any language in the world. If that happens in real time on all 3 levels, audio, video, plain text, that means you will never, ever find a website that you don't understand. Ever. And it's not just the future because this tech goes back. It can translate all the old stuff, all the old audio, and all the old video as well. So it doesn't matter what language you speak or what kind of education you had. You can now have access to all the information in the world. And it can look like you. And it can take preferences. Like if you wear business casual and never any sport attire, they can rearrange every online shop to show you what you like instead of going through, IKEA, out of the, 3,000, 10,000 square meters, whatever it is, maybe 15 meters is relevant to me. That's the stuff I want to see. I don't need to go through all the other stuff. So the better that internet understands me, the more time I win back. Because if I would go into IKEA and it's just the corner I like, I'll be out of there in 5 minutes. I don't have to do the whole 45-minute thing. Now you would say, yeah, for business, that's bad. No, because I would still buy the same stuff. And I can still get inspired if I want to. I can increase or decrease the amount of responsiveness that I like. Not everyone wants to see themselves. Some people just want to see the entire thing or have aspirations in a different corner, so they want to watch that. That's totally fine. But just imagine that once you go online, everything responds to you. The language, the preference, the product, the type of commercial, the visuals, all of it. We will never see the same internet again, you and me. It'll just be my internet and your internet.
And it's interesting if you think about it, because now the algorithm that many platforms are using is based on your behavior, obviously, right?
Yeah.
And then you see a lot of content which is in your preference, but it also limits your vision or other content that you potentially might have to see to develop an honest opinion or whatever, like political party or like some things that are happening in the world, like you get into the algorithm and then they just show you whatever they think you're spending most time on. How do you see that developing? Because if it's you were starting this podcast with the inspirational BBC, the big content, which might as a kid not be the best content for you at that point, but it developed you in a certain way.
Absolutely.
Which was outside of the normal content for many kids, I believe.
Yeah, it was linear. So there's no algorithm there.
And the adjustments of the responsiveness. How do you see that practically work? How do we not end up in only content that is based on what I believe right now, but also imagine?
Well, I think there's two things. I think the weird thing for me is that all this data that we're always talking about, right? All this algorithm and cookies and whatever. When was the last time it worked for you? Right? It's something that works really well for companies.
Yeah, because they pay, the company pays most.
They
show
have all
that.
this data. I'm pretty sure you don't even know what it looks like. I don't.
It's not in my advantage for sure.
I have no idea what my data looks like. I have no idea what they know.
Yeah.
And it's not about that. To me, it's like, what if I could use my cookies in my advantage, right? I could then say, I only want to see clothes that fit me. Or I only want to, when I'm in shopping mode. So I could say, okay, now I'm going shopping. I don't want to be, avalanched by 2,000 things I can't wear, don't like. I don't like this color. Why am I seeing this? I don't, To me, that's like we went from television advertising that just shot at everyone to hyper-targeted online advertising that makes sense to you. I want the power to do that. I want to say, I'm now going online to shop. So I want to see everything only in my measurements, only in the colors I like. Here's the cookies you should use. Right?
These are my favorite brands.
Yeah,
These are the typical,
I want a profile that says, I wear black, blue, green. I don't wear orange, yellow, and beige because it doesn't work and whatever. So once it starts working for you, you can go in that mode. Right now, we only have internet or what's the other version of anonymity that never works? Like the private browsing thing. That's all. That's
DuckDuckGo as the
incognito type of vibe, right?
Yeah.
Whatever. Why don't I say I'm in shop mode, so I want everything to be catered to me, tailored to me. And then I'm in discovery mode. So I take that switch off. And now I want to see how the internet presents itself. I want to see everyone again and everything.
And I think so many platforms can learn from this because I hate it when I'm looking for food. You just have that infinite scroll. Also with booking, for example, they know me pretty well by now, right? So
they should.
Why don't they show me the hotels that I'm actually looking for? Because
the other ones are paying them not.
Yes. Yeah. So the hotels and the restaurants are paying to be on top, but it's not in my best interest. It is
Exactly.
please build a profile. Like, you know what I'm looking for. Like, I don't want to
Exactly.
see all that stuff. That
Yeah.
takes so much time. I can never order food within, if I'm with someone else, it's super hard to order food within 20 minutes. Well, I could just press a button and just deliver something to me because they have so much data. They know on Friday nights I'm ordering something. It's different on Tuesday. They know exactly when I'm ordering, what kitchen, like, but they don't use it. Like, so that's interesting.
To
vision.
me, my favorite button the internet doesn't use is go away. Right? So it doesn't matter what you do, whether you're on, let's say you go to Uber Eats, or you go to Airbnb, or you go to Booking, or you go to Funda, right? You're looking for a house. Houses are so specific, man. Like, there's maybe not even 1% that you really like, right?
Yeah.
But I have to dig through all of them.
Yeah.
Every time. And yes, you can favorite it, right? But you still have to go through all of that. I want to be able to click away things and say, I never want to see this house ever again. I never want to see this restaurant ever again because I'm not eating that. Stop polluting my time and my timeline, right?
Yeah.
So, and I think in general, if we all did that, then we would get a much sharper result and quicker way to go through all of these apps and all of these things that we need. And on the other hand, because it's then hyper targeted, we could have better results in sales and advertising, etc. Now, I do always understand that a new thing should have a chance to be presented to you. You can always teach people, attract people with new things, and that's fine. And there's an advertising model for that. I just think it's out of hand. Right now, if I would go to Uber Eats, I would probably see 30 restaurants I don't like. Now, if that's 5, I would have already been happier.
Yeah.
Right? So I have 5 of them advertised. That's fine, not 30. And it just gets sharper and better. And if it's in the cuisine I like, if they see, hey, he orders a lot of Asian food, this is an Asian restaurant. Technically, he's never ordered there or heard of it before, but if we would present it to him, there's a bigger chance that I would buy that than, and you usually don't order burgers online. So you can show me 1 million burger joints. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
So in the end, I think the sharper we can get things, the better it'll work.
Yeah, for both parties.
For both parties. And I think AI and machine learning can do that. Yeah. And that's the only way I've ever seen that we can buy back time.
Good one. And time is your most valuable asset.
Time is the most valuable asset, right? Yeah. So I always say, figure out the value of time and act accordingly. So to me, it's like, we can't buy any of it. We, the standard thing about time. You can't buy it. You don't know how much you have and blah, blah, blah. But I do know you can avoid burning time. And right now, they're not making it very easy for us. Like, I'm burning a lot of time on stuff I don't like or don't need or whatever. And I'm not talking about just scrolling on social media. That's sort of an addiction. And yeah, we should look into that. But I'm talking about practical things. When I voluntarily go out to buy something or find a piece of information, that's when I want it to work.
This is amazing. Let's round it off. Maybe one last question. So, how does creativity is going to redefine growth? Your opinion, looking ahead.
I think, especially now, and sound bites like these always work, no matter the year. But there's challenging times right now, right? If you look financially, the inflation that's going on, the possible crisis that is pending, whatever crypto is doing, like all this stuff. A lot of businesses I know are not performing the way they did a year ago or 2 years ago. And right now we're going into a little bit of a negative spiral. It's going to get back up again because that's the world. But there has never been a better time to be creative. If something that was a given and always worked now does not work, you need to create something new. You need to add or subtract something that will make it number one again. And so I think there's never been a better time to add creativeness to business for growth, because everyone's looking for it right now. the consumer has less to spend and they can only spend it once. So you need to become more attractive. You don't become more attractive by doing basic stuff. You get more attractive by understanding what excites them. And that, my friend, is creativity.
Nice. So start flirting.
Absolutely. Start flirting all day. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Ron. This is super nice, super interesting.
Thanks, man.
Thanks for being on the pod.
My pleasure.
We'll drop a link of Ron in the description somewhere. You do business creative consulting. I think you've been proven in this pod already that you're an amazing creative guy. So people can ask you for help, right? So,
yeah, very, very simple to contact and I always respond. So knockout.
Thanks for listening, watching, wherever you are, to the Redefine Growth podcast. This was so much fun with Ron. Hope to see you next time. There's some amazing guests lined up. If you got any names that we should invite, please leave their names in the comments. We'll make sure to invite them. Thanks for watching. See you next time.